functions of management is a theory that derived from Henri Fayol. Man, if I said his last name wrong, I'm sorry. But he's a French engineer and director that basically is the founder of modern management. And I do want to mention that a lot of these theories are things we already do, we just don't know the name of it. So I do think it's important for us to know that, right? Because you want to know what you're doing and how it's referenced and how to search it and see what other people have already done. You don't have to recreate the wheel, you know? These things have already existed and you're probably doing them, you just didn't know they had a word. So let's go over that. So the first step of the 4 functions of management is planning. And planning is the goal. What is the goal of either the company or yourself or the CEO or whatever? But the goal should be what you're gonna create the other functions out of, okay? So the first function is planning. You set the goal. In my example that we're gonna do 15% increase of margin year over year. What that means is from January 1st, for example, to January 1st of 2024 to 2025. And I do want to mention that in the past, there wasn't that much open communication. These types of businesses were ran very strictly with a vertical hierarchy, okay? That's what was known and that's what people followed back then. So somebody at the bottom of the totem pole didn't get that much communication, but as we've spoken about, as what we've seen with the data, what we've spoken about, what the surveys are showing, don't not listen to them, listen to what they're saying, keep that open door communication, and you're gonna have better output. Okay, so we established our goal, 15% increase of profit year over year. So now what do? Well, we analyze. Now, if you're an entrepreneur and you're just starting, you don't have another business, you're gonna have to analyze on your competitors. The people who are closest to you, what are they doing? What does the numbers look like? Try to get some information on that. But if you're a W-2 employee, you should have that information. If the company's existed for a while, you should be able to backtrack and see the historical KPIs, what they did at this specific time that really worked, what didn't work. And if you're your own business owner, then that should be easy because you should already know anecdotally. And if you don't have numbers, then you should have something in place starting now before you even do anything else to get a system in place to track those numbers. So once you start analyzing, you get to see the idea of if you're on track or not to meet your goal, right? Am I behind my 15% year over year margin increase? Yeah, I'm way behind. I'm out of track. I don't know what the hell is going to happen. I don't know what I'm going to do to reach it. Okay, cool. Why? Right? That's the point of analyzing. It's to see why you're behind track. Once you find out why you're behind track, well, then you move on to the next step. You start dragging resources in there. You start filling them in. But the first important step is to see your numbers. Where are you? How are you doing this year? If you're not on track, you need to pivot. If you are on track, why are you on track and why are you doing so well, right? Now, let's say you are on track and everything's doing great. Perfect. You still create an action plan, okay? You create the action plan that is based on whether you're deficient from your goal, you're way behind, maybe, the year before was horrible and you don't know what you're going to do to pivot, but you need to create the action plan, okay? The action plan has to have the steps needed to reach your goal. Now, again, at this point in time, these action plans, they're just ideas. They might not come to fruition, but they're there. And you need to have something there because you need to have something to start. You're not just going to wander in and be like, whoa, man, last year was horrible. What about this year? Well, I don't know, man. Let's wait till next week. No. You need to create an action plan. Force yourself to follow something. It doesn't matter if it's wrong. You just need to follow something. If it doesn't work, guess what? You pivot. What you did last year didn't work. It's not going to hurt you to try something new. Now, if what you're doing is working, then your action plans should be to capitalize on that. Okay? Everything you've been doing has been working. You have your numbers on track. You have the good employees. Okay, cool. Where do I need improvements now? This part is good. These numbers are good. But guess what? The Pareto is going to show you the top 3 strengths that you should focus on technically, right? But is there something down here that's just really dragging you down that you can cut, right? That's what you need to pay attention to when you're doing very good. Now, things change. You're not a fortune teller. You're going to set a plan. Nothing might happen. And guess what? That's fine. But you need to have a contingency plan. A contingency plan is important because it gives you something to work with when your plan A doesn't work. Now, you might be thinking, well, if plan A didn't work, what the hell is going to make my plan B work? Well, guess what? A contingency plan at least gives you a baseline. If you don't have anything, you can create a forest fire out of a disaster that could have easily been solved if you had something in place. So this goes into kind of like squad and all this other stuff, but you need to have a contingency plan that says, okay, if this fails, I have this action plan. If this doesn't happen, I have this route. Let's give you an example so we can kind of put this into picture, right? Because I'm all about frameworks, and if you don't have an example, you might be thinking something completely different than I am. So let's give an example, right? Let's say that you work as a driver manager. You're a manager of drivers who haul freight. You have a very important customer, and your plan A is to have your best driver deliver this freight today. He's going to take it today. He's going to deliver it tomorrow. He's going to get there on time. Everything's going to be perfect. Well, guess what? He calls in sick. Well, that's it. We just lost. We lost the most important customer. Well, it was expecting to call in sick. Well, no. You set up a contingency plan, right? That's where the contingency plan comes in. Hey, he's the most reliable driver I have, but guess what? Anything can happen. So you set up a contingency plan. Well, if I can't take it with him, man, I'm gonna have to broker the freight. Yeah, too bad. I'm gonna have to give it to somebody else because it's that important. I'm gonna take an L, almost. I'm gonna pay another carrier to move it for me, if the contract allows. But whatever, it needs to get there. Is what the point is, and you're gonna find a way to get it there. Now, if you don't have a contingency plan, and this is very basic, by the way. This is kind of common sense that you would do that, but the point is that there could be somebody new at that time doing that hasn't done it before. And guess what? If they didn't have that plan, they would have created their own scenario and their own outcome, and it might not have been what is best for the company. Let's get another example that's more of IT, right? Let's say that you have a system that automates, I don't know, you work at a restaurant and you have a system that automatically swipes everything, and you don't have to do anything manual, registers or anything. It's all digital. But let's say the system crashes. The system crashes, you don't have Wi-Fi, there's no way to scan credit cards, everything's going crazy, it's horrible, the thing burned out. What do? Do you have a plan for that? Because imagine if you don't. Imagine if there's an outage, there's people in your restaurant, and you don't know what to do anymore. You're just sitting there like, crap, dude, I didn't think this out. I don't know what to do. Do I just charge them? Do I not charge them? I don't know. Okay, well, guess what? Set up a contingency plan right now. If right now you're in that situation and you're like, shit, man, I hope the internet doesn't go off. Well, you hope because you don't have a plan in place. This is where contingency plans come in. They're important, okay? This is why you need to have them in place, because they prevent a disaster or something wrong from growing bigger than it has to, okay? It allows you to pivot into an area of improvement and to get basically the job done, get the mission accomplished. All right, so deadlines are also part of planning. You need to have deadlines for you and your employees, okay? You should have them quarterly, monthly, or weekly. And I want to really drive this home. You need to have KPIs for planning, okay? To analyze the data, you need to have KPIs. Please have KPIs. If you are a W-2 employee, you should already have KPIs through Power BIs or whatever. It's 2024. Get the Power BIs. If you are your own business owner, maybe you're good with Excel for a while, but you really want to automate a lot of these things. So make sure you have the KPIs that you need to really track the performance of your business. All right, cool. You have your plan established. Everything's good. You already analyzed the data from the year before, maybe the data you have now. You have a contingency plan. Now what? Well, now you start organizing. Now you get the team ready. You get the team that you need to reach that goal, right? What was the goal? 15% increase in margin year over year. So you need to have a team that is performing well, that knows what they're doing, and that does not have slackers that are going to hurt that 15%. If they do from the year before, you already know, you cut them. You don't need to have those types of people, or that type of, let down in the operation. You need to have high performers at all times, okay? So during this phase, you also start defining responsibilities. Who's in charge of what? You are in charge of this because you're the manager, below the manager, or you're the supervisor, or you're the clerk. You guys are in charge of all these different things, and you outline that to them in a process so that they understand. So number 2, grab employees, organize a team pretty much, and plan their responsibilities. So the most important part of organizing is the goal. The team needs to have goals that match the goal of the company. or our goal, right? At this point, it was 50% increase in margin year over year. So what do the employees need to have to reach that goal? They need to have their own individual goals that contribute directly to the goal of the company. So let me give you an example. If somebody works in sales, guess what they need to do? Have more sales, right? Pretty obvious. But guess what? Their individual goal directly affects the company's goal. You don't want to have goals from one team that don't match the goal of the company. Let's say that you work in recruitment or you're a direct line manager, right? What I mean by line manager is, I mean, you're the manager that the employees that are doing firsthand operations are reporting to, because you can also be like a director or a general manager or a regional manager, and you might not exactly have to deal with that. But in this case, let's say that you are that first, first manager off the bat. You are going to be directly impacting the turnover. So let's say that your individual goal is, hey, our turnover is at 50%, dude. We need to bring that down. We need to go way down. Your goal is to reduce turnover from 50 to 30, let's say. Well, guess what? That 20% difference is going to bring in profit, because it costs money to hire, it costs money to teach, to train. By reducing the turnover, you also improve the bottom line. So guess what? Your individual goal helps the bottom line. Now, a lot of companies, they do offer bonuses for salaried employees for these types of things. If you meet your individual goal, you get a bonus. And guess what? That pushes the goal off the bat, right? Like, you put that in the contract, people are going to be working for that goal because they know they're going to get that bonus. And guess what? That manager that's managing them has their own bonus if they meet theirs, and the manager above that, and the manager above that, and so on. It keeps going. So you have the goal. Everything's kind of seems perfect already, right? Everybody knows what they have to do. But now this is where it kind of gets a little bit tricky, and this is where management really needs to come in. This is where you need to go and create an SOP that outlines their steps, what they need to do operationally. Now, again, you're the manager. You're not the frontline dude, but there needs to be an SOP, and you can offer it to them. Hey, this is the SOP. You're welcome to suggest changes, and me, the manager that's not actually in there doing it, I'm going to be open to it. But let me tell you something. The moment you create the SOP, it needs to have a signature line. It needs to have your signature and their signature. Why? Because this is a basic understanding that you guys are agreeing to. This is the SOP I created that I'm telling you how you're going to do your process, or that the company created, or that's already been created since, 1990. And you're agreeing to it as an employee that you're going to follow these guidelines. You're signing it. And we have documentation. If you don't follow those guidelines, you're basically going to get terminated in the future, is what the understanding is. But what's important here is that they have written proof. And it really, I don't know if you ever had to do this, but the moment you sign a contract that has an SOP on it and is telling you, and the person asks you, okay, you're good, you're going to sign, dude, all hell breaks. You're going to be like, well, I don't really know if I understand this part correctly. Can you kind of explain it to me again? And that's what you want, honestly. But the point of the SOP is also that it saves you as a manager. Because let's be honest, managing people is difficult. And everybody gets mad, and everybody brings in their issues, their personal life issues at work. Even though you're not supposed to, dude, I've managed over 100 employees, and I'll tell you right now, it happens. It's bound to happen. There's too many people, and not everybody thinks the same, and it's going to happen. Having signatures, having them sign policies, having them have an understanding is going to save you so much headache in the future if you just have it, because you never know. Okay? All right, move on. Okay, so now you've established individual goals. You already have the SOP. You have the team. What else do you need? Okay. You need to set up a rhythm to track the progress, the analyzing, right, to your goal. Now, there's quarterly ones that you need to have with the employees or one-on-ones. There's probably monthly ones that you have maybe with your manager. But I honestly think that weekly meetings to track your KPIs with your direct managers is very, 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 very important. Now, let me give you an example of why I think this. So let's say you work at a warehouse, and there's a forklift driver who does, 50 loads a week, let's say. And then you have another forklift driver who does 25. Okay, well, this person is doing half as many as this person. Okay, well, let's go ahead and bring that up to him, right? Hey man, what's up? Is everything good? Yeah, no, dude, it's those pallets, dude, they're just so heavy. I'm not comfortable doing those. Okay, well, guess what? You put your management hat on and you say, I can either retrain him or I can move him to an operation that doesn't have that many heavy pallets. Might be good to move him, he'll be happier. Maybe somebody from another department, maybe somebody from that other area wants to move in over here. All right, let me look into it. Yeah, best case scenario, you can do that. Everybody's happy. He performs way better in the other area, and it's a win-win. So the third step of the functions of management is actually leading. Interesting. I honestly think that leading is one of the most important functions because it really establishes how important you being there with the employees is. And this is from like the 1900s that we're talking about. Leading has been on there, like, you need to be there at the ground. You need to be leading the team. You need to be setting the example. You need to be an effective communicator as a leader because you need to communicate your goals and their goals and the trajectory towards those goals as a team often. If you're not saying anything, these employees don't even know what the hell is going on. But aside from that, you need to know about conflict resolution as well. Is there a conflict inside the operation you're not aware of? Guess what? If you're an open communicator, you will know this. If you're not, you might be falling behind and there might be some friction in the operation that is not being handled. Guess what? A leader needs to go in there and need to fix that. It's that simple. Okay? Have an open line of communication. Friction needs to be addressed to you by somebody there. Everybody should be addressing these concerns to you, but you need to be a leader and you need to be actually in there and asking these questions to them. Hey, is there anything wrong? I noticed that we're lagging behind this week. What's going on? Leading in this case, I'm taking it as leading and management together, but you need to be a manager in these scenarios. That means you need to take control of the situation because that's what it means to be a manager, is to take control and to improve. You need to make the environment align with the team's goal. So, what are you talking about? Environment? What environment? How do I create the environment? You create the environment by listening to your team. Let's say you're the leader, right? You're in charge, you're the manager, and man, it's hot in the office. People are complaining. People's morale is down because it's so hot, 110 degrees where I'm at. Insane. And you don't do anything about it. Guess what? Their performance is gonna lag because you as a leader, you're not following and you're not addressing these issues that your team has. So let's go over one more example in here. Let's say you have a bad apple. This apple is rotten. It's spreading like a disease on your other good apples and you don't know what the hell to do anymore with it. You as a manager, you need to control the situation. What do? You bring them in, you say, hey, what's going on? Either they're going to tell you what's going on, they're going to divert, they're going to not want to tell you the truth, they're going to make up a scenario, blah, 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 they're going to play the victim, whatever it is. The point here is that you as a leader and a manager, you need to control the situation, you need to bring them in, and you need to address the issue with them up front. Hey, I noticed you're spreading rumors, I noticed that you're saying these things about the company, I noticed that you're always kind of slacking, that you're doing this, whatever it is. And then you wait for them to explain, and that's it. You don't have to resolve the issue at that point because you might not know what to say to the response. And then you say, hey man, I'm glad that we spoke about it. And I hope that we can fix it together in the future because we're going to work together. So that's it. Okay, man. Cool. Appreciate it. Boom. Handshake. Boom. You know what? You might have to be in the shower that day and you're scrubbing and you say, oh man, I should have told him this. This would have been such a good response. Well, guess what? You have tomorrow to tell him. Bring him in again. Hey, how do you feel today? Yeah, well, you know what I was thinking last night, and you have to say I was thinking last night about you in the shower, but you can just say, hey, I was thinking last night, and what if we did this, or do you think that you feel this way because of this? Is it really the operation? Is it really me? Is it the team? What is it? You need to find the root cause, and you either need to fix it, or you guys need to part ways. You need to offer that as well. Hey man, you're part of you're part of the team and everything's great, but this type of morale is not it, and it's affecting the team. And I don't know if we want that around them, okay? But you need to address it, because some people will have no clue that they're doing anything wrong. I swear to God, some people really think they're doing God's work, and they are not. We need to address them, especially if it's affecting the operation by inflicting other people with that type of mentality. So the fourth and final function of management is controlling. So I know earlier I said that you kind of compare the 50 loads to 25 loads and you say, hey man, why are you doing this? But controlling is when you actually go back and you review the whole data as well as your initial plan, right? Because in step one, you made the action plan, remember? You made a plan that had what you want to do to reach your goal, and then you enacted SOPs, you created a team, you created everything, right? So controlling is you're going to go through the first, the second, the third, and you're going to review. You're going to grab them all in line and say, okay, where are we in this process? How is it doing? How is it doing? Is it good for the team? Everybody agrees to it. We're good. We're not good. What do I need to pivot? This is what controlling is about. And controlling is extremely critical because it lets you see any type of deviation that's occurring, right? It really puts into perspective if there is lags in what's going on and if there's areas of improvement, because remember, you're auditing in this step. You're actually checking. Now, let's do an example. You work in manufacturing and it's Christmas and your throughput just went down because your inventory has been scattered because of suppliers and all this other crap. Well, I mean, you can't really do anything there, right? Because that's just the nature of the beast in this type of business, is that big holidays like Christmas are going to affect your import and export from all other regions that bring in the supplies and your manufacturing, and it's just something that's going to happen. People are delayed. It is what it is. But let's say it's not something like that. Let's say it's something that's been reoccurring. Okay, well, let's go to phase one. Let's audit our process that we enacted. Okay, cool. You grab your paperwork or whatever it is, and you start monitoring them. Okay, this process here, yeah, I don't like that process. It's taking too long. What if we switch him with him? What if we move this line here? Let's move this line over here, guys. Let's do this. I know the SOP says this way, but let's try it this way, because I think that now that I'm actually physically here, I'm seeing it. This seems a little bit better. Yeah, let's do that. Guess what? Nobody might have brought it up that are in the line, and it's sometimes annoying because, I mean, you might think, how come nobody understands this? How come nobody sees this? But you have to remember, a lot of these people, they're going to be entry level, they're going to have 3 to 5 years experience. But if you're up there, you have a decade of experience. And it might be something that is so simple to you and it's completely new to them. You have to remember that, okay? But this is what controlling is about. This is a type of stuff that you find in controlling. You find these things by doing this. And this type of work is actually called the feedback loop. And it's part of the continuous improvement, curriculum. And it's kind of crazy if you think about it, because the 4 functions of management basically started like in the early 1900s. I think like 1920. You know what? Don't quote me, but it might be 1920, 1938, something like that. And then you don't have feedback loops and that until like later in the 19th century, right? So they're probably like 50, 60 years apart, but already there's that idea that going back and actually auditing your processes can result in better results at the end, because you're fixing those little cracks and you're moving stuff around that you might not have actually thought about at the time, right? I'll give you an example. This setup that I created, I set it up 5 times, 10 times, and right now I still think that there's stuff that needs to be improved, but guess what? I need to act. I need to just do it. I can't just sit there and be like, it needs to be perfect. It's never going to be perfect. But this is what makes things as close to perfect as possible. It's controlling. It's going back and actually checking your processes and saying, you know what? I did that wrong. At that time, it was good, but now we need to change it. And guess what? You change it, and the operation gets better, and the employees get happier, and you taught something valuable to the employees. Imagine this. Imagine that it is like that. You move lines around. You say, hey, you know what? Line B is going to be in line A, whatever. We're going to move this function around. And you bring the employees in and you say, hey, you know what? Let's try it this way. And they do it and it flows faster and it's better. And the employees are like, holy shit, guess how many freaking employees you just taught? Like, you honestly taught them something so simple that they're going to think now, man, well, what else can I improve? Right? Keep the employees involved in these types of changes, because the more you teach them, the more they're going to give you by implementing those same tools you're giving them. Okay? Controlling, very important. They're all important, right? But I think this one really hits home, right? Because being able to audit your own work, and more so if you have a very strong team that already kind of does it for you, can bring in so much improvements into your operation. It's insane. And that's it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Share the YouTube channel. Let's get some subscribers going. I know we're starting off and I want to start off strong. So thank you guys so much, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Peace.